BioPics.com.
Welcome to Drinking Bro Sports. What is that? Is it loud, D'Anthony? Is that too loud for you over there?
No, it's the noise level's fine, but the audio doesn't sound great, to be honest.
No, coming out of your side?
Yeah, it may just be through the computer, though.
Huge shock. We've had a ton of tech difficulties this morning. As long as the audience can hear us all right, Muggsy can. I think we're good. We got Muggsy Bogues on, who's got the biggest heart in the NBA. I know a lot of people like to lead with the smallest NBA player of all time. We don't do that. We measure by heart here. Muggsy, how are you?
I'm good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, because I feel like that follows you everywhere. It's the smallest guy of all time and blah, blah, blah. I don't want that. I think you've got the biggest heart. You were one of my favorite players growing up.
Well, I appreciate that. Unfortunately, I just can't escape that, you know, that label that's on me. So, but I appreciate it, you know, and just let me know people appreciate the things I've done. And, of course, you know, my heart is just as huge as anyone out there.
Yeah, and let me ask you, is the label pimp on you? Because it appears as if somebody is chauffeuring you around in a car right now.
Yeah, this is my wife.
Does she drive everywhere?
Appointment with her, and I'm about to drop off in just a second, but I am being chauffeured.
I have that worked out with my wife, but only after a few drinks out at Carrabba's. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You know, happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. And that never ends. That is a moniker that will live forever. You've had one of the craziest careers. You played for Wake Forest. Have you been watching the tourney right now at all?
I have been watching the tournament. This is the best time of the year of March Madness because there's so many unpredictable things that can happen. A lot of upsets, and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah, I think back to there's so many crazy moments that have happened in history. I mean, when we were coming up, Michigan calling a timeout with no timeouts left, that was a big deal for us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That was a big deal for us. Yeah. Leitner hitting that shot was a big deal for us. But even, in the mid-2000s, Steph Curry blowing it up, in the tournament, becoming – I mean, before that, I believe he was known as Del Curry's kid. And now I'm pretty sure Del Curry's known as Steph Curry's dad, right? Like things have flipped pretty well. Yeah, we did so many big moments. And it's this year has been pretty wild. That first round of games – I don't think I haven't seen any analysis on this yet, numbers wise, but I wonder if there have ever been that many upsets in the round of 64 before. I mean, it was crazy, like 10 games out of the 32 games were upsets, I think.
The answer is no, Dan.
Is it no for sure? Did you look into that for sure? Because I don't actually know, but that's a wild ass fucking beginning to this whole stuff, and that's what we love, right? That's why you play the games. That's what makes college basketball in a lot of ways better than so many other sports. Like at the beginning of the season, there's like maybe 5 NFL teams that can win the championship. There's like maybe 5 NBA teams that can win a championship. Same thing with baseball, right? Every now and again, a wild card team will sneak in, like the Florida Marlins, for example, or the Miami Marlins. But for the most part, in college basketball, you really don't know. Although Gonzaga does look like they might be out of reach, to be honest.
Yeah, they might be. Muggsy, why do you think there's been so many upsets this tournament?
Well, that's the nature of the game. You don't get an opportunity to see some of these teams during the course of the season. And then these guys, I mean, they can't wait to play the big-time universities. I mean, because they're talented within their own rights. You look at Loyola, Chicago. They got a lot of talented players over there. And I know it's been upset, especially when they beat Illinois. And then you look at a team like Oral Roberts. They got some guys that can really compete. Boy. But it happens every year. I mean, when I was playing, go back from when Freddie Brown passed the ball to North Carolina to James Worthy, and then Lorenzo Charles, dunking it at the end, beating this 5 slammer jammer. So there's always upsets in this time of year, and I'm loving it.
For sure.
Yeah, there's one that I'm going to focus on. Dan said it. I heard your laughter, Dan. It's Oral Roberts. As an Ohio State guy, the shame that I felt when Oral Roberts beat Ohio State was intense. I didn't know if I would get over it. I was in a bathtub. I was in mayonnaise for a little bit and then back in the bathtub and then in pickles. Once I got out of it, I watched the highlights later on and I was able to put the pieces together. And I didn't realize that Oral Roberts had the #1 scoring player in the nation. I didn't know that they had the best duo in the nation. And then once I looked at those numbers and how they were shooting that game, they actually should have blown Ohio State out. So therefore, I put all of my money line, no spread, no points, no nothing, on Oral Roberts to beat Florida. And that is exactly what happens. Why did those guys get no love during the regular season?
Well, no one heard of those guys. I mean, you heard about the young man Abram as being the leading scorer, but he wasn't playing against the competition on a nightly basis that he faced in the March Madness. So that's probably one of the reasons why you didn't hear much about him. But you better be known for sure now. You know about his name now because of his stellar play. I mean, these guys are really exciting, man. They fast, they quick, they can put the ball in the basket. And if you don't have anybody can stand in front of them, they can cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah, and I feel like a guy like you right now during this tournament would absolutely have ripped apart all these teams because it's the quickness that you were talking about. And you were an unbelievably fast guy at Wake Forest when you played.
And plus the rules are different. You can't hand check and bump you as you're going down the lane as it was when I played. The lane is wide open. You got a lot more guys that skill sets has really involved. You big guys, 7 foot, handling the basketball, shooting threes where they was playing with their back towards the basket when we was playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we take that for granted a lot. It seems like an offensive move that the 5 and even the 4 are playing out at the perimeter more, but there's a defensive component to that as well because the person they're defending is now out, on the perimeter. So those rim protectors just don't exist anymore. I mean, there's a couple of the league, but for the most part, you don't see those 7-footers just hanging out down in the low block anymore, waiting to do some help defense or whatever's going on.
Yeah, and that's the new rules, and that's the way the game has gone. You only have a handful of those guys that still, they're still here. The Joel Embiid, guys like that. But mostly, and even he liked to shoot the 3 ball. And it's just the way the game is. It's a trend. I think when those big dominant centers come back around, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Patrick Ewing, those type of players, of course you're going to have to adjust to their skill set. So it'd be interesting to see if it ever go back to that. But the guys are so talented, man. Like you said, I mean, you 7'2", dribbling the ball, Porzingis, shooting perimeters, handling the basketball. So I mean, it's now the way the guys are being trained and how they can kind of, add into their skill set, putting among this craft that they taking a part of.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up of if the game goes back, because I think that's been our biggest question on this show for the last 3 years with the prevalence of 3-pointers and how many people are firing up game after game after game.
Yeah.
I don't know that it ever goes back to a dominant center anymore like it used to throughout the 60s through, to when Shaquille O'Neal was playing, because you see a guy like the guy from Illinois, Kofi Coburn is his name. I didn't want to mispronounce that. I usually call him Cockburn. Want to get that right today because that means something totally different that you can get on spring break.
Yeah. Yep.
But you look at guys like that. You look at guys like who was the kid that came out of Arizona last year? Now he's playing for Phoenix.
DeAndre
center.
DeAndre, you talking about Hunter?
Yeah, he's a legit center. This Wiseman kid for Golden State is a legit center. You got a couple of other ones, but even some of the quote unquote some of the guys that have the body of a legit center, like Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, people like that, they're still out on the perimeter, man. I mean, it's weird. I don't know if you're how marketable are you if you're DeAndre Ayton versus Joel Embiid, right? Because Joel Embiid is going to be a perennial MVP candidate. Can a guy who just plays the 5 the old school way be in that conversation anymore as the best center in the league? You got Jokic, you got the Joker, you got Embiid, you got Karl Anthony Towns, you got all these guys that are legit 7-footers that are shooting threes now. So I don't know. I mean, it comes down to effective field goal percentage and things like that, right? 3 is more than 2. And Steph Curry,
but they all have different, and they all possess different skill set. You mentioned Rudy Gobert. He's more of a shot blocker, run the floor type of player. Joel, he has the total package.
Yeah.
Inside out, back to the basket.
He's also
the
really
only
passer.
one. He's the only center that today that kind of molds that old type of center we had back in the day, and as well adjust to the new game where shooting the perimeter jump shot, the 3 ball. So he's really mixed it up. So it's going to take a player like that, but it's the game within itself. I don't think it ever would go back to a stationary, just throw it in, dump it in to see a one big man operate in that regard. Because that 3-point line is so been emphasized in everybody's game plan, and the guys are shooting the ball lights out. I mean, now you got guys shooting beyond the three up half court. So, I mean, that's how the game has gone. So I don't think it ever will see a game where we play back in our day in that regards, because the game has sped up. The game is fast now. They want more scoring. So I think that center, he's going to have all those skill sets that we just talked about, with a Joel Embiid, possess, or he can be, our one specific type of center like a Rudy Gobert, a shot blocker, protect the rim type of guy.
Right. And there's some other guys that are playing that are, in that same category, but they're not even playing the 5 anymore. I think of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's 6'11", legit. And this dude, I mean, he's still shooting. He's having a little bit of a down year shooting wise, but he's still shooting 30% from 3. A 6'11" guy shooting 30% from 3 25 years ago would have been out of the question. Now it's like, he's doing all right this year. Like, come on, man, where are we setting the bar here?
I know, and that's where guys are starting to take their game, and that's where they got to become these wannabe superstars, because you got to have all those arsenals in your, and all those type of skill sets in your arsenal, because playoff time come, as you just mentioned, Giannis, they sit back and they make him shoot. They block a wall, and that's been affecting him. So, but you notice this year he's been emphasized a little more with his 3-point shooting and feel comfortable doing that, so he can open up that lane a lot more. And but that's how scary the game has gotten. I mean, here we talking about a 7-footer guys, point forward, point center, that's handling the basketball and just really dictate where the ball goes. I mean, here we ain't even mentioned LeBron James.
I know, right?
Yeah. I feel like LeBron, is his own category at this point. But as a point of reference, Muggsy, when you were coming up and getting ready for the NBA and all that stuff, was the 3-pointer that important that you were working out on it every single day, knowing, hey, man, if I can develop a deep 3 ball, that it could maybe lengthen my career?
It definitely wasn't emphasized more it is today, even though the 3 ball was in the game plan. We had guys shoot the 3 ball. Dell always shot it. Reggie Miller, Greg Hodges, those guys, even Mark Price, Isaiah, guys who was capable of shooting it, but it wasn't emphasized as much as it is today, because it's the way the rules of the game and how the coaches are coaching the game. And I guess it more so goes to the skill set, as we talked about earlier, of these players. So I guess they're adjusting to all of that, and they're allowing these guys to take advantage of their skill set. I mean, here it is, Kevin Durant, 6'11", one of the best prolific scorers that we ever had in our game, standing out behind the 3-point, just shooting the ball on at an accurate clip.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's unheard of, so that's unheard of in today's. I mean, back in our day, but today's game, that's pretty normal.
I've got a question for you. You've been playing and watching basketball for a very long time. Have you ever seen anybody be able to shoot with a hand in his face like Kevin Durant? I mean, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. It's like he's not even seeing the basket, and he's still – I mean, especially on the fast break. He'll pull up on the fast break from about 24, 25 feet sometimes, and a guy will come off from his side and just throw a hand in his face, right in front of his face, and he drains it like it's not even there, like he's in warm-ups. I've never seen anything like this guy.
Well, that's for shooters. Those are shooters. I mean, Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard. These guys, they have this, this vision where that's all they see is the ocean of the basket, and it's become an ocean as opposed to of a basket. And they have the, that natural instinct of how to put it in there effortlessly. Right. And that's the thing of watching those guys shoot the ball.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about Steph Curry, because in his second MVP season, his effective field goal percentage, I just remember this random stat, his effective field goal percentage on shots from 28 to 30 feet from the basket was higher. Yeah. It was higher than the league average inside the paint. Like, what the fuck, man? That should not be legal. What the hell's going on with this guy?
Yeah, that's abnormal there, I tell you. And that's the that's just a testament, of course, him and the parents that raised them. But for him to have that ability, on a nightly basis to have the ability to put the ball in the basket, it's a truly, truly a blessing to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, nobody knows him better than you. You grew up. I mean, your best friend was Del Curry on the Charlotte all those years. You had to have seen Steph as a kid shooting lights out next to you, probably every practice, I would imagine.
Well, yeah, I mean, Steph, he was a gym rat. He was him and my son, and they stayed around us all the time, and they was in the gym all the time. But we had no idea that he was going to turn out to be this type of player. I mean, he was so skinny, so he was small and frail, but he had a heart just as enormous as mine was, and he just wanted and enjoyed the game. And watching him on this run, I mean, it's just such a treat, such a blessing. I mean, not even knowing that I had the best shooter in the world flying around in the locker room in my arms.
So you really had no idea. Like, was he, as a kid, something special where, I look back to Ken Griffey Jr. and his son, right? And his father playing. And it felt like everybody knew around the organization. Same with Prince Fielder and his kid. You guys didn't have that same feeling when he was shooting the ball.
No, I mean, because Steph was so small. He was skinny small, and he just loved just playing the game and just going around messing around. Even in high school, he was just small, but had always had that skill set to put the ball in the basket. And he used to have this push shot until Dell took him into the gym to kind of moved it up some to allow him to be able to start shooting the ball from his shoulders. And then that's when it started to take off. I mean, he really became such a player in college that no one thought that he was going to become.
For sure. I mean, that frailty followed him into the NBA too. If you remember his first couple of years, he had a lot of ankle injuries, and I guess that gym rat attitude clicked in pretty good for him. It's just his work ethic has really worked out for him, because what he did was figured out how to make his ankles stronger, and then he went on to win, and now he's again in the conversation for MVP again. So, I guess it's a benefit to be able to shoot thousands of shots a day if you want in an NBA gym growing up. That seems like a pretty good, that's just what we should just let everybody do that. We can get a bunch of Steph Currys, right?
Sort of. I mean, look, I can't name very many NBA players who have had great children. I guess Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, we talked about that one time.
Del Curry. Yeah.
Like, who are the second generation NBA players that are really great? Even Horace Grant's kid didn't make it. His two nephews did, but he wasn't, or his kid wasn't. I mean, what's his name? Jeremiah or some shit. I don't remember his name. And then Jordan's kid played college ball, but they never made it. I mean,
Harding. I think Harding Jr. He went to Michigan. Like, he was.
And Hardaway Jr. too.
I mean, I'm sorry, Hardaway Jr. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. And
I mean, you got the sons. You got the sons that's, still, following the daddy's footsteps, and you got a lot of those duos to where, the sons and the followers had the opportunity to play in the lead, and you had, everybody try to see who was the best of them. But I mean, it's good to see that, though. Just good to see, as you guys, you mentioned all the names, the Hardaways, the Dells, and of course Jordan. I'm Sunday they weren't able to make it, but teams that, I mean. Any kid to have an opportunity, any player have an opportunity to have their kid that follow their footsteps. I mean, it's such a blessing. I mean, here it is. Who knows what can happen? You got Harper Jr. right now, who could possibly be going to that next step. So being able to experience that. But it's good to see, the teammates with the guys that I know have sons in the league. Horace Grant, Harvey Grant, as your guys mentioned. He's the uncle. So,
we'll see what happens with Bronny. He's the next hype machine
he's
coming up.
Pretty good. I mean, look, if his body grows late like LeBron's did, I think he's probably going to be an NBA guy. And look, I guess you could talk about all of sports. It's very rare to have a father that was really, really good or great, and then have a child that even plays in the league, right? I mean, the only one I can really think of, Ken Griffey Sr. was pretty good, but he wasn't like a perennial all-star or anything. The only one I can really think of is Bobby Bonds and Barry Bonds, where the son, I mean, they were both not Hall of Famers, but Bobby finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting a couple times. He's won multiple Golden Gloves. He's hit 30 home runs, had a 30-30, had 2 30-30 this season, if I'm not mistaken. Those are two guys. I can't think of any other father-son duo that both had that kind of success in all of professional sports, not just basketball or any of these other ones. So, good. I feel like Dell had a really good shot, but back then, guys who were primary three-point shooters typically weren't big usage percentage guys. They were more, in the tool belt, so to speak.
Yeah, like Paxson and all those other guys.
Steve Kerr, Mark Price, all those guys, yeah.
Yeah, what did your dad do, Muggsy, growing up? Like, how did you learn the game?
No, unfortunately, my dad was, he spent a little time in prison when I was 12. I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, following my sister. She played the game. My brother played a little bit, but I saw her play it, and it just gave me, she was small. So it kind of gave me a little inspiration to go out there and try the game. But then once I really got into it, it was a young man in my neighborhood. His name was Dwayne Wood. He would have been the first small guy that made it if he would have decided to go to Georgia with Dominique Wilkins as opposed to going to Virginia State to another sort of smaller university. So he kind of gave me a little sample of what I'm capable of doing because he was really good. So that's who it really came from me. Looking at guys in the NBA at the time, Tiny Archibald, he was 6'1", so he wasn't too tiny to me. But then you had Calvin Murphy out there. Calvin was, in that 5'10", 6 foot range. So
that's your Jordan. I took that personally moment when you find out Tiny Archibald is fucking 6'1". You're fucking Muggsy Bogues. You're like, come on, man, come on.
And I took that personally. You were talking about your sister, watching her play and everything. Was that some of your motivation for coaching a WNBA team?
Well, yeah. I mean, knowing that she played the game and how much she loved the game and enjoyed it, but just being around the game of basketball and the young ladies that you came in contact with, know how passionate they were with the game. And, when the opportunity presented itself, I wasn't searching to become a women's basketball coach, but when the Sting reached out and because of the situation, I decided to take over, even though I know they was going to get rid of the team, but I decided to take over and just give them an opportunity just to have fun and enjoy their craft. And learn much about it as well, while doing so. And I learned a lot by being over there with the ladies because they're so professional and they more or less focus on the fundamentals aspects of the game as opposed to athleticism of it.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's been some controversy in the last week with what Shaq said to Candace Parker. Now, Shaq's suggestion was lower the rim to 9 feet and have dunking. Because women aren't as athletic, and he thought that would help ratings, therefore generate more money to WNBA players. You were an actual WNBA coach. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you discredit the game. You discredit all the young ladies that learned the game as a young kid on a 10-foot goal. So now they're going to have to readjust their game to try to play on a 9-foot goal. But, I mean, we got enough excitement women that's in the game. It just need to be marketed the right way, I believe. We got women that can dunk, are capable of dunking. It just, again, I think it's more or less how they market the game and present the game and get the game out there, because the women, you just imagine your mama, what they go through, how this balance as in your craft as well as, off the court and what they mean so much. I think they don't do enough pushing that narrative out there as opposed to just pushing, because a lot of women are married, some women that have different other, agendas, but I think they just push the other side. I think they need to focus more so on the totality of a woman, what they represent and what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you market that better, right? Because like you were saying, great fundamentals. However, not a lot of people want to see fundamentals when they show up to a game. Same way with me. I'm a big, like NFL guy, college guy. I don't want to see a lot of defense. I want to see a lot of scoring.
Well, you can see it in UFC too, right? I mean, think about the Khabib versus McGregor fight. Khabib, clearly the better fighter, way better. Better technically, better at winning actual fights. Like, so not just is he better technically and fundamentally, he's actually better at winning fights than Conor McGregor was. And Conor got $3 million for that fight. just his base salary, and Khabib got $2 million, even though Khabib was the belt holder at the time. You know what I mean? So there is something about that marketability. I wonder what it is they can do to make that better. Because look, I mean, it's still the fact that the WNBA is subsidized by the NBA. It's just not making money, and there's got to be something though, because I know a lot of young women like to play sports. Shit, my grandmother back in the 1940s played in a textile mill basketball league semi-professionally. You know what I mean? This is not new. This stuff's been going on for a very long time. So I just wonder.
She dunked on a peach crate. I remember that, Dan. I remember seeing footage of your grandmother dunking on peach crates.
Yeah, and then she punched James Naismith right in the face too, right after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But in all sincerity, like Dan was saying, like what do we do to get people to watch it?
But I mean, Europe. It seemed like Europe found a way. You know, Europe had found a way that's where they take care of their women. I mean, that's where the WNBA women goes to really make their money, and because it's well thoughtful, and I'm quite sure they do a great job of paying their players. Even though the WNBA is a 3 month, even though it's only 3 months of play, but they still need to find a better way of how to create marketability, make the game a lot more exciting. And, you know, again, people think the dunking is going to do that. I mean, maybe so, but a lot of outside shooting, you know, people loving the 3-ball, people shooting from half court and certain parts of the court these days. You know, maybe that could be some excitement as well.
Yeah,
but sure. Hopefully they can get a better TV deal, where that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's really the money. I don't think Shaq was trying to be malicious. He's generally trying to help.
No.
Yeah.
But like I look at you had a pretty exciting career by any reasonable measure. So the average NBA career is about 4.5 years. You had 7 years where you averaged 9 points, 9 assists a game. And you're not exactly the tallest guy in the world. I don't want to keep harping on it, but if you go look at Muggsy Bogues highlight reels on YouTube, it's not fundamentals and back cuts. It's these crazy turnarounds, these thread the needle passes. I mean, that is exciting to me as dunking. A great pass is exciting as dunking, but even then, I think there just needs to be a little bit more risk in the game on the female side. That's probably what it is. It's not about the highlight reel dunk. It's more about the highlight reel itself. And the long three, for sure, is one of them. The movement on offense, the back cuts and all that stuff, the big rejections on defense, things like that is what really brings people out of the seats. I mean, look, people go watch Rudy Gobert not for his dunks because they want to see a ball go 14 feet deep in the stands after he swats it out of the fucking air, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. And then again, you know, the dunk is 2 points. It's an exciting. A lot of folks, you know, do get riled up when that happens. But again, you know, the game within itself, and I know a lot of women, they just feel so disrespected when you tell them they got to lower the rim in order to make their game exciting. You know, a lot of these women are really skillful. I mean, you got some athletic women that's out there. I mean, Brittany Griner, I want to make sure.
Griner, yeah.
Griner, you know, she's a dunker among some other players that's in there too. But again, you know, it's just the narrative that they continue to put out there about this game. I mean, you got so many great, talented basketball women players that's out there, and it just needs to be expressed and exposed. And again, talked about more or less what the women bring to the table and bringing other folks to the game to watch the viewership, I should say, as opposed to just regular sports fans.
Yeah. So we're talking about the long three a little bit. Do you remember before Steph Curry, the only guy I can ever remember consistently jacking up threes from out there was Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, right? He was the only guy that ever shot from out there. Now you're seeing more and more. Dame Lillard, fucking, what's his name from Atlanta, Ross, your guy?
Oh, Trae Young.
Yeah, Trae Young.
Ice Trae.
Yeah. And Steph now, that's just a regular thing. To pull up from 28 feet and just launch it, or even farther, 30, 32 feet sometimes. That's a regular thing now. I don't remember if anybody back in the 90s was doing that, except for Rauf.
Yeah, they weren't. But you know what's weird, Dan, is I've seen it a lot during this tournament with Buddy Buckets, Boeheim's kid. Yeah. He has been shooting from the logo. Some of these LSU kids shooting from the logo. I mean, with ease. Yeah. I don't remember anybody. Yeah, the kid from Loyola.
He shot it as well.
Yeah.
Oral Roberts. Yeah.
But that's how it is, right? I mean, you grow up wanting to be the guy you're watching on TV. Everybody's been watching Steph Curry shoot from out there for the last 10 years or so. They're like, you know what? I can do that. This guy's 6'1". I can do that. Why not? And they're doing it too.
Yeah, back then, guys didn't work on those type of shots. Back then, it was considered a bad shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, people didn't work on them. And, you had guys maybe were capable of hitting a shot, but not on a consistent basis because that wasn't something that they worked on. Yeah. These kids, that's what they do. They work on these shots. The legs and the wrist and the strength of the shot. They work on that on a consistent basis. They're shooting 1,000 of these type of shots. It become a natural shot for you. But it's not for everybody.
No, for sure. It's
not for everybody.
But, it's funny you say that it used to be considered a bad shot because now pretty much every shot Karl Malone took in his career would be considered a bad shot now. You know what I mean? That mid-range 18-foot jump shot. Everybody would be like, no, don't do that. Just step back a couple of feet. The mailman did it every single day. I would say probably 60, 70% of his shots were from that 15 to 18-foot range.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't going outside of that. Three ball wasn't something that they was going to experiment with.
Although he was clearly a good shooter, right? I mean, he easily could have done that. That's an easy for a guy that size. That would have been an easy transition for him because he had that touch. I think he shot 82 or 84% from the free throw line for his career or something like that. So he definitely could have done that. It just wasn't part of the game.
Karl Malone?
Yeah.
A free throw line? I don't know about that. I mean, we need to research that.
I'll check it. Oh, it's 74%.
There's a lot of things that people need to research on Karl Malone.
Shaking on that free throw line for a second.
Yeah. I want to pivot.
I'm just gonna say, but the mailman. I mean, players like him, man. It was very rare to see. Like I say, you look at him and the body structure. That's LeBron James now. So that's so crazy. That's so crazy to be seeing, the game to where it is today.
Yeah, speaking of LeBron James, I got to ask you about Space Jam 2. You were in the original. Did they ask you to be in the sequel with LeBron James?
No, they didn't ask me to be in the sequel. I have no clue what the theme going to be. And then we saved the planet. Maybe they saved the universe.
Do people still bring it up, Space Jam?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, kids, yeah. I mean, some of them still ask me, do I have more powers?
That'll
never go away.
That's funny.
We were watching the Last Dance doc, as I'm sure everybody was last year because we were all locked in the house from COVID. Did you get to play in any of those legendary games on that court that was built for the movie production for Jordan to train on?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't because I had surgery, but I was there watching. I had surgery on my knee. I wasn't even supposed to do the movie, but they had me fly out there anyway to do my lines, and of course, they must have liked what I've done. But I went over to watch the guys play. I couldn't play because I had knee surgery. It was some great games, great pickup games, some of the best you can ever see.
Yeah, Jordan he seems to play the same if it's a pickup game with no fans. If it was like the Game 7 of the NBA Finals, that dude doesn't give a shit, right? He's just crazy all the time.
Oh, he's a competitor. I mean, we all are. I mean, everybody competes. I mean, everybody wants to win. I mean, and they fortunate enough for them, they created a big tent to where he can not only play basketball, work on his golf game and all that, because he was making his comeback. And I guess that was the deal they made so he can feel comfortable doing it.
Was it as crazy as they made it out in the documentary? Like people were just killing each other in those pickup games?
No, it was that. It was. That. It was. I mean, it was intense. Nobody likes to lose. Nobody likes to lose, and it's all about bragging rights as well. A lot of trash talking, a lot of folks, because this is during the summertime, and this is when MJ trying to make a comeback of being disappointed from what happened to him to Orlando. So that was it was great fun basketball to be watching. I wish I could have been playing, but it was good to be watching.
It was awesome. Look, you were also in another one that could change the WNBA and might become it someday with the way our country's headed. Joanna Man, how was that for you?
I love that movie.
Oh, that was so much fun. It was so much fun. I mean, they created, that type of movie with a male player, a female, to go out there and try to pursue his career still. It was great, man. I mean, it was great laughters, and I'm just, great. I was proud of it.
Yeah, we know Orlando Jones. He lives down in Wilmington, and good dude,
Super
very,
funny
very
guy.
funny guy.
Yeah,
And
tell Orlando he better pay up. He lost his horse game to me. He ain't paid me yet.
do you know how many people have hit me up saying, "Hey, man, tell Orlando to pay me"? There's a lot. He's made a lot of bets that he's lost, apparently. That's all I'll say on that one. How was it in Curb Your Enthusiasm? Because that's one of Dan and I's favorite shows. You were also in that as well.
It was such a blast. I mean, Richard Lawson and David. Larry David had me just crying the entire time on the set. I mean, of course, it was just a storyline, and I'll go for it. And I just really had a good time on the set. Really had me fun.
Yeah, because people don't realize when you get that script, it's about 6 pages of kind of a loose story of what's going to happen, but there's no dialogue, and it's all improv. For a guy like you, was that fun or scary?
Oh, it was fun, especially when they told me what the scene was going to be. I said I was the perfect guy for that, and so I had a good time with it, man, and it was really enjoyable. And again, I tell you, they have fun on the set. They tell jokes the entire time, and I was just in stitches my entire time on the set.
Yeah, I bet, man. Because the weird thing is like acting wise, you've worked with some of the greats. I'm going through this here. You had a cameo at the end of Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg. What was Whoopi Goldberg like back in the day?
Oh, she told me she was going to put me on a plate and sop me up like a biscuit. So I felt great. I mean, it was fun. Watching Miss Gold, watching Whoopi do her thing on the set. I mean, she was so demanding, and everybody, was in the right place at the right time. Nobody being late. I mean, she really was prompt, and seeing her work behind the scene was a treat.
That's awesome. And then obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up your Saturday Night Live appearance with Charles Barkley.
The big and tall black mist. Yeah, that was fun. I tell you, Charles did a great job. He did a great job on SNL. I mean, it was creative. Stuart Smiley. The senator from Minnesota played it, so it was great, man. I really had a great time on that show.
It was awesome. Did you actually go and were you live as a part of it as it was live, or did you just tape that segment?
No, we was live. We was actually there.
Oh, that's great.
We were actually there and on the set. They created the big tall man clothes for me, so I got a chance to put them on. And I met first time meeting RuPaul. It was great, man. I had a good time.
RuPaul's
I like how you
tall, right?
Yeah, RuPaul's a big dude. The hilarious part though, I like how you bring up RuPaul over the musical guest that night, who was Nirvana.
It was Nirvana, and I was going to say that too as well. Yeah. Yes, I was gonna mention that. Yeah.
I know what your level of importance is. RuPaul here, Nirvana here, which is crazy to me.
Well, RuPaul's still around. Just saying. Something to be said for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet Kurt Cobain when you were there?
I did get to meet those guys, and it was again because they had a after party afterwards, and it was kind of unique because I got to see again. I hate to keep saying that, I saw RuPaul out of his costume, and I didn't know who it was, and so it was a good.
Yeah, I've met him one time as well, and it was out of costume, and I didn't recognize him at all. He's actually a good-looking person. Like I was just like, oh shit, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting there just shooting the breeze with him, and didn't realize that was him.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't done more film and television, to be honest, because you're super. You're obviously you're a smart guy. If you're able to hang on Curb Your Enthusiasm, you got to be a smart guy. You got to be quick-witted. Otherwise, you'll get dragged by these guys. They're so fast. I'm surprised you haven't done more. Is that something that you're looking forward to doing in your future?
I don't chase it. If opportunity presents itself, that's fine with it. That's not my lane that I kind of travel down. Like I said, anytime opportunity come, I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, because I enjoyed your 30 for 30, the Baltimore Boys. Explain that and how you got involved. I mean, obviously you're from there, but tell everybody what the 30 for 30 process is like, because I think it's one of those things where secretly we all have our own special 30 for 30 that we would like to have shots or, involve us in some way. Why this story and how did that come about?
Well, that was the makeup of high school team. The legendary team that was put together. Myself, the late Reggie Laws, may rest in peace, David Wingate, went on to play with the Philadelphia 76ers, Reggie Williams, who went on and played with the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, the four of us was on the same high school team together, along with other talented players who got Division I scholarships. We was 59-0 my 2 years there. We were the number one team in the nation. And that was a story that a lot of folks wanted to hear. And plus, there was a lot of history in it. Three of us, myself, the late Reggie Laws, and Reggie Williams, we got drafted in the first round in 1987. And that was, unheard of, that three high school players on the same team that was drafted in the same round in the first round that year. So that was a lot of historic moments that took place.
It wasn't like that back then, or it wasn't like it is now, where kids sometime around freshman, sophomore year will go to a finishing school or whatever like that and play. Instead of, I guess it used to be probably towards the tail end of your high school career, maybe when you were in college, where the summer league ball and all the travel teams started kind of getting together and getting more popular. But now, even with LeBron, what was it, almost 20 years ago now, he transferred to, was it St. Vincent St. Mary, I think was the name of the school?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, that's pretty much the norm. But it makes sense. If you're an elite talent, you got to go play other elite talent, because you're never going to hone your skills like that. And that's something that you did from an early period, even in high school, then in college again. And then with the FIBA team in '86, that team, nobody really thinks about that, but it's you, Steve Kerr, Kenny Smith, the Jet, Sean Elliott, Derek McKee, David Robinson, Brian Shaw. Charles. There's a bunch of dudes on that team that nobody ever thinks about. We take it for granted now because of how good the European teams have gotten, but USA basketball dominated for a long, long time.
They did, and that was on the collegiate level. When we went over there,
right
before they sent the Dream Team, and we was the last collegiate team to actually win that gold medal in '86. The names that you just ran off, and then along with the may rest in peace, Armin Gilliam and Ronnie Cycli and those guys. We had a unique team that we was under Lord duress while we was there, because during that time it was a little terrorism going on, and it was kind of scareful for us being over there. We possibly almost didn't make it, but with all that being said, we was fortunate enough to win that gold medal to represent the United States as a collegiate team until '88. We lost the gold medal, the Olympics, and then they sent the Dream Team over. But those were some fun times, and you had to play against those type of caliber players. Early on, as you mentioned, we was fortunate enough to play against great players, travel. A high school team traveling, which is unheard of, but it was based on the type of players that we had on the team, the reputation that we were starting to gain around the country and the nation. So that's one of the reasons why we were fortunate enough, and it wound up being such a great moment, and it led to me possibly winding up in the NBA.
How hard did Ronnie Cycli party? He looks like a guy who wakes up and does blow around 11, a mimosa around 12, and then sells some real estate around 4.
Don't say that about my buddy Ronnie Cycli. He's going up the best. Cycli was the best.
I say it out of jealousy, man. He's still doing it to this day. I saw a profile on him a few years ago about how he owns like a crazy amount of real estate in Miami. He was selling all these houses on Star Island, and they were like, if you thought he made a lot of money during his NBA career, see how much he made in real estate. And they showed a shot of him, and I was like, oh, Ronnie's living his best life down there.
The tallest DJ you can ever meet.
That dude could play some ball, though.
Cycli was great, man. He was awesome, man. I tell you, people don't realize how good he was, back in Syracuse, I was so blessed to play with him, in that one opportunity during the Olympics and with the David Robsons of the world. So it was good to know that he's still out there doing well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, with all the people you've played with, which is literally everybody at this point that we all know and love, and you're such a positive guy, again, not small, big heart. Who is somebody you didn't like playing with or against?
Well, it's not anybody I like playing with. I mean, everybody I played with, I mean, we really got along together. I mean, it was just a bonds that I felt like, for me, it lasted a lifetime. From the 12th player all the way to the top guys. So I'm just grateful for all my teammates that I played with. Who I hated playing against, it wasn't no one particular guy out there that I hated playing against, because I was the most different guy that any of them ever had to play against. So it was more, even playing against, people say, well, how about a taller player like Magic or Penny Hardaway or guys like that had height? That was, for me, that was normal, because everybody's still taller than me, but I just love playing against each and every skilled player that's out there, because everybody, had that skill set that I was trying to make a name for myself, from the Mark Price to the Kevin Johnson to the Fat Lieber to the Vern Flo, all the way down to the Spud Webb, the Michael Adams. Those are the guys that, Tim Hardaway, Gary Payton, I could go on, go on, so those were the guys that I loved playing against, and I got up each and every night, to try to, be my best.
Was there guys that said they hated playing against you when you walked out on the floor? They were like, ah, shit. All right, Muggsy, we gotta go tonight. I hate guarding you. Who was that?
I mean, a lot of guys, they always tell me they hate playing. Steve Smith and Kenny Smith, they all guys always tell me I hate playing against me, because, a guy like me, I'm pressing you 94 feet. I had to do that. Felt like I had to put that type of pressure, that aggressiveness on you. 94 feet can't give you no type of breathing room.
For sure.
Because for me, I felt like that you had to always knew that I was there.
Okay, so you're not too concerned about who you're playing with, because you're always playing your game. Who's the best shit talker? Come on. Let's give us like the top three shit talkers.
Well, I mean, it's always, of course, for us it was Gary Payton, the point guard, and then of course the two guards, you got Michael and Reggie Miller, and those guys did all the talking.
Don't you miss that shit? Don't you miss Reggie Miller and Spike Lee getting into it on the sidelines in playoffs? Man, I fucking miss that shit. You don't see that anymore. Now it's Drake hugging the other team. Like, come on, man, yell at him, talk shit.
Yeah. Why does Drake want to be an NBA wife so bad?
Drake's a great guy, man. He's an ambassador for the Raptors.
He is.
He's bringing that type of, I guess, other influences involved in the game. And plus, guys, rappers want to be ball players, want to be rappers, rappers want to be ball players.
Oh yeah, old white actors want to be blues guitarists too.
Yeah,
every one of them. That's just how it is.
Every white Hollywood actor does have a band, and they're always asking you to come see their band. It's terrible.
But I miss Reggie and Spike on the sideline talking shit, because now it's just like some old dude and his 25-year-old bleach blonde wife yelling whatever the fuck they're yelling. I want to see celebrities fighting with basketball players on the sideline. That's what I want to see. It's hilarious.
And we used to have the hecklers in the audience.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You remember those? Yeah.
Now you get kicked out for that shit.
Leon Love. I know the guy from Washington, the lawyer. I remember it was one game we was playing, and I shouldn't even be telling this story. We was playing the Washington Bullets at the time, and our coach.
Oh boy! Of course, it freezes right there at the good part of the story.
Coach, yeah.
Oh, is he out?
To call the timeout, and the gentleman Rex kind of let the heckler know that.
Hey, Muggsy. Muggsy, I'm going to ask you to take that story back. Your phone froze. We saw a nice little image of you, and I don't want to miss this story, so I'm going to ask you to take it baback. Yeah. What happened?
Well, what I was talking about is that, one of the hecklers that's at the Washington arena back in the Capitol Center, he was a lawyer, behind our bench. We was playing Gene Little, and Tom Nosaki was our coach. and we had a timeout. Rex Chapman kind of let the heckler know that our assistant coach had a toupee on, and he told him, he said he let him, and the heckler holler. I mean, it was so quiet in the arena, and he yelled out, "Oh, Tom Nosaki," that was our coach name, "Mr. Tom Nosaki, that's not a toupee you're wearing, is it? Rex Chapman told me you got a toupee on top of your head." I mean, the entire arena heard that, and I'm quite sure he felt embarrassed with it. And boy, Rex looked at him and looked at, we laughed so hard. But that's the thing that you hear when you go to these type of arenas.
Well,
that's yelling at.
That's how it is in pretty much in any kind of situation like that. Like I was in the military. If you're not constantly talking shit, we don't know that we're friends. Like if you're not constantly insulting me and trying to attack me in some way, I'm like, this guy even like me? What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
I get nervous.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what did he do with the toupee? Did he end up taking it off, or did he live that out the rest of his life?
No, actually, he kept it on, and he didn't take it off because he didn't want to let everybody know that it was one. So the best thing to do is just keep it moving and keep it going and let my man keep talking. But everybody on the bench we knew, and it was so funny, and we knew Rex was going to be in trouble once we got in the locker room.
That's so funny, man, because you don't know when to take your toupee off and when to leave it. Like, how many years do you wear a toupee in this life? Travolta rocked one for 40-something years and finally just took it off and shaved his head. And he looks great. I don't know why he didn't do it earlier, but some people want that rug up there.
I don't understand it. You know, when it's gone, when it's time to let it go, you got to let it go.
Yeah, like LeBron. Why doesn't LeBron let it go? When I watch him, I'm like, man, you're one of the richest dudes on the planet. Go ahead and shave the rest of that. Like, it would take maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Some folks just, have this image where they got to have it there. Maybe it's a security blanket or something. Who knows?
Hey, speaking of wigs, have you ever seen Larry Johnson and Grandmama in the same room at the same time? I never could figure that out. Is that some kind of costume or what's going on there?
Oh, boy, you talking about my big fella, LJ.
Yeah.
Man, that was one of the great campaigns they came up with. I mean, I never would envision him wearing a dress with a go-to.
that was awesome, though.
That was awesome.
And your guys' team
really
was great, too. That you, him, Alonzo Mourning, that was I really enjoyed watching you guys play back then. And I guess the what is it? The Uncle Drew stuff kind of tried to re-envision that a little bit as Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving doing that stuff. That was really whatever happened with that? Why aren't they still doing that?
What, with the Uncle Drew?
Yeah, that was amazing.
They did a movie. So they did a full feature-length movie with it. Yeah. And then after that, they were like, all right, great. Where do we go from here?
I guess they just couldn't get away with it anymore because you can't show up to all the guys that are at those pickup games know who the fuck Kyrie Irving is and Uncle Drew is now, right? So he's got to do something else.
But that was fun. I think that really was fun. I think they could have really ran with that. They could have came back with Uncle Drew too. And because it was funny, Lisa Leslie and Shaq, Reggie he was blind, Nate was in the wheelchair. That was fun.
That was actually, the wheelchair thing was hilarious.
Yeah, the wheelchair thing was funny. The weird thing about you, Muggsy, is if you did a movie with yourself, you still look identical. I don't know if people tell you that. You look the same age. You could actually play yourself in a biopic if somebody made it of you right now.
Well, who knows? We got something that's in the work, but I don't know if I'm going to be part of it. But
really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on the Muggsy Bogues story.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we'll see what happened with it. But I don't think I'll be playing myself.
I mean, a lot of people don't know about your life story. It's pretty wild. A lot of shit's gone down in your life, especially during childhood. And you turned that into some great success, and you also turned it into being a good man for a long time. That's something that's pretty rare. A lot of people go through hardship and tragedy at a young age, and they turn into pieces of shit, right? That's a far more common than somebody turning that into being not only a good man, but like inspiring other people to be good men as well, and inspiring from a position where not only were you the underdog in life, you were the underdog in the game, and you still succeeded for all that time. I mean, it's really inspirational.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's the mindset. That's the one. Want more for yourself, and hopefully during your journey, you can inspire others. I'm just so thankful that I was able to do both.
Where are they talking about doing that thing? Is it like a mini series or a movie of your life?
Now I'm working on the whole full Muggsy Bogues story. Trying to tell it, and they had Rudy out there for so long. It's time for something else to get out there.
We say that all the time. And here's the difference: Rudy was off sides. You actually went and played, like a professional career.
Yeah, I know. So it was a lot of folks was really motivated by the Rudy story. So let's see if we can give them another avenue to be motivated.
I think we should do a Rough and Rowdy with Barstool where you fight Sean Astin. What do you think? We can make that happen.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, would you ever do anything like that? Nate Robinson just did. It didn't work out so great for him. Were you watching that?
I was watching. I could not believe Nate went ahead and stepped in a ring to display, that type of performance. I tipped my hat off to him, but no, that's not something that I'm interested in doing.
Especially seeing the end result for Nate. Nate is an endless meme now that I don't even know if kids will remember that he ever played basketball. They're just going to remember that he got knocked out by Jake Paul face down like that.
I know it, but I'm a fighter though. I wouldn't have been going there and holding. I know how to duck and move, and I come from a street fight background, so it'd have been, if I would have went, or if I'd have put myself in that situation, I'd have went out with a little more, aggressiveness in terms of skill displaying, but we'll never know, because I ain't gonna never put myself in that situation.
Well, Nate Robinson's from Seattle, and you're from Baltimore, right? I mean, it's not always, that doesn't always tell the full story, but I feel like in this case it clearly does. It's like
I'm taking the guy from Baltimore, Dan.
Yeah, 100% of the time it's like The Wire versus whatever the fuck happens in Seattle. Okay?
Nirvana. The Wire versus Nirvana is what we're doing there with those two cities. Muggsy, now's the point of the show we get to the Drinking Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Can be a man or woman, by the way. Who would you like to give the Drinking Bro or Broettes of the Week to?
You say it can't be a man or a woman?
No, I said it can be. It can be either. So yes.
Oh, well, the person it's the gentleman that really took me under was Leon Howard. Actually, his name is Leon Howard. He was my recreation director back in Lafayette Projects, where I grew up at.
And why was he so special? Was he the one that said, "Hey, man, I think you have the skills. I think you could be an NBA player one day"?
No, he was the one that taught me the game. He had no idea NBA was in my thought process. It was just mainly learning the game of basketball. I was a little sponge soaking up all that information from him. He was a diminutive type of point guard back in his day. So I had to, I was so blessed to be able to get that type of knowledge from him.
That's amazing. Where is he at today?
He's back in Baltimore, and just got finished. He talked to him last week because I got a book that I'm working on that's coming out.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to be part of your life story too. That'll be good. I mean, are you thinking doing a book first and then turning it into a movie or a short series or something like that?
Well, no, the book is being done. I did a book in '93 when my pop passed away called In the Land of John. And so we're just doing an updated book right now, and the movie is totally different.
Well, that's awesome, man. Whenever that new book comes out, whenever the new movie comes out, make sure you stop back by here and promote that stuff, because our fans would love it.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and everything.
Well, I'm IG, the real Muggsy. I'm on all the platforms out there. And I probably wouldn't know how to get there, but I'm on them. Got my team. So you can find us everywhere out there. I got a podcast, the 3 Lead OGs with my boy Charles Oakley and Earl Curtin and Ashley Strollum. So we just trying to, and we on all platforms as well.
Speaking of shit talkers, Charles Oakley. You're just gonna skip over that. Say the name of that podcast one more time.
It's called the 3 Lead OGs.
3 League OGs.
Yeah, we got T Mac on tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we got Dr. J following him.
Wow, that's a great show.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll definitely tune in for those. I mean, that's Charles Oakley. I wonder how many people he's just murdered. Like he's just, like not even secretly, like on NBA floors, and we just like they cut the commercial or something like that. That dude, he protected Jordan for a little while, right?
Yeah, he's the big enforcer.
Yeah.
You know, he's the enforcer wherever. He's protected MJ, Patrick.
Yep.
You know, Vince Carter when he was in Toronto. So T-Mac.
Shit,
Yeah,
Charles Oakley can't stay out of scraps even as a coach in the other league there. Man, he's still talking shit. He's great. He's still talking shit.
The big three, yeah.
Yeah. I just like how the Madison Square Garden just does not like the old Knicks team. They asked for Patrick Ewing's ID last week. They wouldn't let Oakley come in and sit courtside. I don't understand what's going on at Madison Square Garden these days.
I know. Then the Spike Lee situation as well. I mean, yeah, that's tough. You know, three iconic guys that mean when you say New York, that's who the guys you kind of faces that pops up.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of hard to know that they being treated like that in their own building.
Yeah, New York has changed. Luckily, you have not. Muggsy Bogues, thanks for being here today. We loved watching you play, man. Glad to see you doing well. And you have a standing invitation anytime you want to come back on, my man.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Check out Muggsy Bogues' podcast. Follow him on Instagram. And, if you want to slide on over to Drinking Bros Sports, rate the show a 5-star and leave a quick review. It'll help us out as well. For D'Anthony Hollaway, Muggsy Bogues, I'm Ross Patterson. We are the Drinking Bros. Good night, everyone.